Hey, good evening, everybody. It is that time once again. It is Thursday, March 3rd, almost time for springtime, and it's time for Treasure Tales. And we got a really good show for you tonight, I think, and I hope that you enjoy it, which I think you will. And our co host tonight is going to be Tiffany Calhoun, the better part of the Pacific Northwest Dirt Fishing Crew. And I have to tell you, hearts go out to Ronnie because Ronnie is sick, and we wish Ronnie to get better real soon. Now, let me know what you thought of the new Treasure Tales opener. Now, I thought it was pretty cool, and we have Ronnie and Tiffany Calhoun to thank for that because they helped me work on it. And they did a great job. And I appreciate them so much. And I think it's really cool. I don't know about y'all, but I think it's really cool. So it's been an eventful couple of few days, hasn't it? In a lot of places, the weather's starting to break a little bit. I know here for me today it was 82. And in some places, even up in Canada, I think in Canuck land, it's supposed to get into the teens or something, or 20 degrees maybe. So I guess they're going to go out detecting. And I know that two very special people have received their Noctamacro Legends. Liam Lutz Hamilton, he has gotten his. He put the very excited picture on Treasure Talk Facebook group page, and he's already given it a name. And he's decided, I think, that he's going to call it Creeper after Minecraft. Now, personally, I don't know what Minecraft is. A video game, I'm certain. So, Liam, I hope Creeper finds a whole bunch of goodies for you. And another special friend, Jamie Holt from the Oregon coast, just got her. She got it early, as a matter of fact. I don't think they were supposed to get them until Friday, but they got them. Liam got his day before yesterday, and I think Jamie got hers yesterday. Unfortunately, Jamie's sick, so she hasn't been able to go out and use it. But she'll be better soon, and she'll be posting a picture of her and her new Noctamacro Legend, and all kinds of information will be flowing from those two about that detector. It's kind of an exciting thing, an exciting time for them, I know, and for us, because we're waiting to get all the goodies, hear the information. So, it's been pretty good. I want to thank everybody for, joining me Wednesday night. I was just on briefly with the thing that I felt very deeply about for if you can help the Ukrainian people. I mean, they're treasure hunters just like we are in all forms, shapes. They're people just like we are. They have homes, they have lives that are being completely disrupted. And I just feel like it's our duty as a human and a good human and treasure hunters to help any way we can. If you are so inclined to do so, it would be greatly appreciated. You'll probably never be recognized for it, but if you're anything like me, that's okay. It comes from in here, and I'll get my reward. When I'm gone, I'll get my reward. And just knowing that some of the people over there are be able to go back to their life, to hug their grandchildren, hug their mamas and daddies and their children, and live free. That's all the reward we need. So enough about that. So I'm going to go see if I can say hello to everyone. There's going to be a whole bunch of people tonight, simply because we got a killer guest. And so let's go see if we can say hello to everybody tonight. The first one in the chat was Adele Lempersky Rutherford. Hello, Adele. We're glad that you are with us tonight, and I hope young August is watching with you. And there's the Mumbles Man. The Mumbles Man is in the house. He's my brother from another mother. He will be up here next week. So next week on Treasure Tales, he'll probably be sitting right here in the Treasure Talk studios with me. And we're going to do some detecting. He got his Deus 2. I've got my Deus 2. We're going to take the Deus 2s out. John David is going to be with us. He's the one that inspired me to create the Blue Spade Society. His legend should be here by next week. So he'll have that when we hunt, and we scored a permission from an 1840s farm. So it's going to be interesting to see what we can find. It'll be fun anyway. Spending time with John and the Mumbles Man is always a good time for me. Mike Mayo, I'm glad that you joined us tonight, Mike. Say hello to Trish. And let's see who else. Backroads Metal Detecting. Hello, how are you? Glad you're here. Let's see. This thing's jumping all around. I got happy fingers, I guess. I think this is Ohio. This is Tom Becker from Ohio on Facebook. Hi, Tom. Glad you're here. Laura Schuler. Hello, Laura. Glad that you are here. Detecting History's Mysteries. It's another great group. You all need to get over there and check that out. Robert Thiessen. Glad to see you tonight, Robert. Andrew T. Good evening from the freezing Great White North. Well, I guess it's still freezing, Andrew, but it's going to thaw soon. You'll have 2 weeks of summer in 1st of August, I think. So it'll be all right. Robert Ridgway from Pinellas Park, Florida. Hello, Robert. Glad that you're here. Mark Fiorella. Hey, Mark. Are you back up north, or are you still down in Venice where it's hot? Let's see. The Diggin' Canuck and my sister from another mister. It always makes me feel good when she's in the chat. I don't know why. It just does. I guess it's because she's special. Glenn Bowles. Nice to see you, Glenn. Glad that you're here. Backroads Metal Detecting. 40s there in Minnesota. It's getting up there, starting to thaw. Pink Power Alley Treasure Hunter. Allison, I am so happy that we got you straightened out. You didn't miss this show tonight. So we are glad that you are here. You're another one. It always makes me feel good when you're in the house. There's a Facebook user. I don't know who that is. Maria Reese. Hello, Maria. Glad that you were here. Janine Patterson, JBP Hobbyist. There's another very talented individual. We're glad you're here. Kathy O'Sullivan, hello. Janine Hoban. Glad to see you tonight, that you were able to join us. Twin Diggers, Minnesota, a couple of real cute girls from Minnesota, and you're going to get to meet them soon on Treasure Tales. That'll be fun. And let's see who else is in there. Ski Searcher, glad that you're here tonight. Let's see. Jamie Holt. I hope that you were feeling better, Jamie, because you got, I don't know what you named that legend, but you got to get out there and find some goodies. So let's see who else is here. The 717 Detector. How are you? Glad that you're here. Moose Ninny. Hi, Tim. How you doing? James Arthur Frazier of the Diggin' Frazier's. I think Rose is probably sitting right there with him. Great people. We're glad that you're here, Art and Rose. We always enjoy you. Chief Digger. Hello, Renee. Your mug is on the way, and I think Phil has already got you your swag pack. If not, if you're right there in Tampa, stop in the store and he'll fork it over. Gene Martin, how are you? Let's see. Heritage Relic Hunters, hello from Hawaii. Yeah, I would, if I was in Hawaii, I'd be going detecting tomorrow too. I hope you find some good stuff. Edmund Joe Boudreau from Edgewater, Florida. Hello, Edmund. How are you? So there's a Facebook user. I can't tell who that is. And I hope that I'm not missing anybody. But, it's possible, especially with me. Oh, I think we might be getting who is in the chat. John Donaldson. Hello, John. I'm glad that you joined us tonight. Ohio River History. Hello, how are you? Dig it up, boys. Nice to see you tonight. Uh, Lisa P. is another great special friend of mine. Lisa P. Hello, how are you? And Gene Martin. I don't know if we said hello to you, but hello. So I think we've gotten to the end of the chat, and there'll be more people coming in. So why don't we do this? Um, I'm going to go ahead and bring Tiffany in, and I'm going to let her introduce our guest for tonight. So everybody, let's welcome my other sister from another mister, Miss Tiffany Calhoun, the best part of the Pacific Northwest dirt fishing. Hi, Tiff. And I
Hi,
know Ronnie's watching. That's why I said that.
he is. He is. Yeah, he's pretty bummed that he's not feeling well because he is a fan of the guest tonight. So, he's bummed,
Everybody's a fan of the guest tonight. If not, they should be.
right, right. So, without further ado, we'll just get going because I'm sure everybody is waiting. So, our guest tonight is an amazing person, a well rounded individual. He is a husband, a father, has fantastic friends. He is a musician, a seamster, correct? Not a seamstress, he's a seamster. He he is an incredible detectress and filmmaker, storyteller. So, Green Mountain metal detecting Brad Martin.
Hello,
There he
Brad.
is.
How are
Hello,
you,
Jeff
friend?
and Tiffany. Thank you so much for the very, very kind words, and hello to everybody who joined us.
I just happened to see my other brother from another mother, Mr. Phil, the Guru Myers. He's my partner in Treasure Talk, and he is in the house tonight. I think Philip was probably out detecting some today because it was probably about 86, 87 in Tampa.
Jealous.
Right.
Yeah, it was a little. I didn't get out today. I had too much. I got too much stuff going on. Too many chores and stuff like that. I got to put that stuff away. I'm going detecting next week. That's it.
It was about 20 degrees here, and we've got several inches of snow, so I haven't been doing any detecting in Vermont for a very long time, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We're rain. Rain in the 40s, that's us right now. So we haven't been detecting much either, just because of the weather, and
Sure.
our beaches aren't very good. So, gosh, Brad, where do you want to start? I think the first question that I really think that everybody's on their edge: what got you started in metal detecting or treasure hunting?
Sure. I guess the very, very, very start was I got a metal detector for Christmas. I don't remember how old I was. I was young. And, just as I mentioned, here in Vermont in the wintertime, Christmas time, getting a metal detector for Christmas is a tough present to get because you can't use it until springtime. And that was the case with me. I put it in my closet, and I don't think I picked it up for another 15 years. When I was in, my wife and we bought a fixer-upper home. It happened to be a little old farmhouse from 1850. And, I was watching the shows on TV that everybody watches, the Diggers and a bunch of stuff on YouTube. And I said, you know what? I've got one of those metal detectors. I went to my parents' house and I grabbed it. And the very first target in the backyard was a mercury diamond. I was just like, wow. I mean, this is easy, right? If this is going to be like this every single time, like I'm hooked. And I was lucky because that yard had a whole bunch of stuff in it, and it was a great starting point for entry into the hobby. And really from that point on, I was hooked. And that was 2015. So really not all that long ago.
Wow.
And
Wow.
almost immediately I started kind of bringing along a camera with me.
Mhm.
The story that I always tell is that Eddie and I, my buddy Eddie, who's in many of the early videos and some of the newer videos, he and I kind of teamed up and would go mostly together all of the time. And we got this permission very, very early on, like maybe our second permission ever, where like every other target was like a $50. I found this giant Russian ruble silver coin, and it was just an amazing, amazing property. And we're like, we have to start filming this. Like, this is unbelievable. Like, no, like literally nobody's going to believe that this is happening right now. So we're like, we bought a couple cameras and we started filming our little adventures. And obviously it was never as amazing as those first few permissions that we had, but we do okay out here.
Yeah.
But that was
Eddie's
kind
a
of the beginning.
character.
Yes,
Eddie's a character. He's a banana, right?
He's the banana guy. Yeah.
He's the banana guy. And Chris is a musician, and Chris, what else does Chris do? Chris detects a lot.
Yeah, Chris, Eddie and I kind of came up together as in the detecting hobby, and Chris has been my best friend. He was the best man at my wedding. We've known each other since almost elementary school, and we've always been in bands together growing up. So he's always been the drummer of the bands that I'm in. I'm always the guitarist of the bands he's in, and he has been living in the desert for 10, 12 years. And then he just happened to come back to Vermont to stay, and we're like, let's go metal detecting. And he got pretty hooked on it too. So he's fairly new to the videos these last 2 years, a year and a half. But I try to drag him along as often as I can.
Right. Well, he's good too. I mean, no offense, Chris. I didn't say what else he's going to do. I'm sorry. Okay. So what was that first detector you got for Christmas?
It was a bounty hunter. It was from Radio Shack. I don't know the model name on it, but I do know that it had a volume knob, and it had a discrimination knob that was just there was no numbers or anything. It was just turn it up, turn it down, and it just kind of changed the breaking point between the low tone and the high tone. And it was pretty useless. But I found the yard there was. My home's yard at that time was just loaded with stuff, so I didn't have any hard time finding stuff. But I did eventually upgrade to what was it, a Fisher F2, and I maybe used that for like a year, and then I went up to Garrett AT Pro. I was like kind of getting more serious about it, and wanting to get wet with it, and I ended up using the AT Pro for many years after that.
I think a lot of us did. That was a progression for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Starting out with a bounty hunter perhaps, or maybe an Ace 250, 150, one of those, and then kicking it up to the AT Pro. And then, as your techniques and desires expand a little bit, you find yourself gravitating to another detector because it offers this that possibly the Garrett AT Pro doesn't. And I just have to say, everybody send well wishes to the Garrett family. It's a fantastic, great American company, and Mother Garrett just passed recently. So the matriarch of the family is now gone, along with Charles, who died some time ago. We just wish them the best wishes, and it won't be too much longer on Treasure Talk. You'll see Steve Moore and Vaughn Garrett coming on. So,
fantastic.
Let's send them some great wishes, shall we, people?
Yeah. And you currently swing what?
I currently have a Deus 2. I got it in early December, and I got to use it one time in Vermont before we got buried in snow. And then I used it in Europe for a few days, and I'm waiting for the next time I get to bring it out again. The wintertime is a hard time in my area to get out, but I enjoyed it as the amount of time that I was able to use with it. I've got maybe 20-30 hours on it, and no complaints. It's great.
Nice.
We got a question from Chuck Martin. He wants to know what hand digger and shovel that you use, Brad.
Yeah, you throughout our discussion tonight, you'll probably find out that I'm really not a gearhead with metal detecting. Like, I have the Deus 2, I enjoy the Deus 2, but like all of the other accessories and stuff, a lot of folks in the hobby like to really dive into. I do not. So I don't have a hand digger, and the shovel I use is from Walmart. It's like $8. It's just a little 3/4 size spade with a handle on the end. And I've been using it for like 5 years, so I don't really see any reason to spend any more money on one.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I bet people are going, where's that $8 shovel?
In the garden section. It was very inexpensive.
So I don't know if you want to talk about a few things, but I'm going to ask because we're fans. So did
Sure.
you make a decision on the Anna pendant?
It has been, there was a decision, and I'll rewind a little bit for folks who may be watching who have no idea, right? It's
Right, please.
I found this little silver medallion, or a pendant, we'll call it, in the mountains of Vermont around an old stagecoach stop. And it just happened to have a name and a birth date on it, which allowed me to do a ton of research on the original owner, Anna Leonard. And it just so turns out her family had an incredibly interesting history going all the way back to her like quadruple great grandfather who came over on a ship from England. And I made the video of where I found it, and then I made a follow-up video of the story of her life, and then I actually made another video of returning to that place to see what else I could find. After that, the video that I made of her life was published on YouTube. The little town of Conway, Massachusetts, where she grew up, apparently just started buzzing. People got a hold of it, and people were excited about it because the Leonards are still there. And in fact, the house that she grew up in is, people know where it is. It's on private property, and the home that her mother grew up in is actually still standing. There's still people living in it. And so the historical society there reached out to me, and we scheduled for me to go and do a lecture on Leonard, on Anna and the Leonard family and the pendant itself. And that was, well, let's see, that I think I posted that video like last 2 years ago, almost now. And then, so we planned it for the spring of this last year, and then COVID canceled it. So we moved it to the fall, and then COVID canceled that. And so I have another one planned for, I think it's May this year. And the plan was originally to leave, they have a museum there, to leave it at the museum. But I have no idea if this next one's going to get canceled or not. So I still have it. But that is the plan. I had gone through all of the options of what to do with this thing, giving it to family members. But the problem is this family would have like 13 kids, like every generation. So there's thousands of these people that could receive it that is somehow related to Anna. And it's like, how do you choose? And I tried going down like, okay, the oldest daughter of every family, but then, maybe they didn't have children and the line gets broken, and it's, so I decided probably the best way of letting other people who are now familiar with her and familiar with the pendant, that would give them the ability to actually go see it, would be to put it in a museum. And Conway seems like the one to do it.
Very nice. That way everybody can go. Ronnie and I had to make that same decision, and for us it was an easy decision to put it into the museums because everybody gets the ability to look at it. So yeah, so we did the same thing. So
got a question from YouTube.
Okay.
Mike Mayo wants to know, how long did it take you, Brad, to perfect your production skill? Because in your videos, it shows that you do have some production and editing skills, and that's not an easy thing.
Well, I have zero production education, we'll say. I have no background in video production. I'm a musician. I went to school for music, and I guess it's kind of like in the same department of the school. I kind of mingled with those people, but I didn't really do any videography whatsoever until I started filming myself metal detecting. And as I started progressing on the YouTube channel, and I started gaining a little bit of a community there, the filmography kind of became its own hobby, and I started getting really interested in how I can make that part of it better, in my opinion. And so I wouldn't necessarily say, to answer your question, that I've perfected anything, but I'm thus far happy with the way the videos look, but I'm always looking to make them even better. And so, like, for example, I've noticed, looking back at the last year or two of my videos, that a lot of the bulk of the video is just my hands. I'm talking with my hands, holding the relic, and the camera, is in front of me. So I'm talking. And this last trip to Europe, I always use two cameras, where I had one pointing at my face and I had one pointing at the ground, and I can switch back and forth between those two cameras so that I'm actually speaking to the camera as I'm speaking. And like little tweaks like that, I'm going to continue that, to bring two cameras with me and film both the ground and my face. And I'm always looking to improve, trying to make things that I will be happy with many, many years from now, because I look back at my first videos and I'm like, oh God, that's terrible, you know?
A lot of us did that, but
Right.
a lot of people don't realize to make good videos that people want to watch, and you do that. People do want to watch your videos. You got to pack a lot of stuff with you. I mean, you just don't grab the detector and the shovel and off you go. It's
Well, you can. You know,
yeah.
there's a lot of the biggest channels on YouTube. That's exactly what they do. They just go out without a plan with their camera and they find great stuff, and then they have 1 million subscribers. And I often think like, wow, I'm putting way too much work into this. Maybe I should just do that. But in the end of the day, I'm trying to make like an art piece, you know, of telling a stories, beginning, middle, end, and trying to get the best looking footage as I can along the way. And I'm trying to make stuff that I'm going to be really proud of, you know, later. I'm trying to, at least.
Well, you're doing it. You're
Thank
succeeding
you.
very nicely.
Yes. Yes. Who did your logo for you?
Oh, that was me. I do everything on my channel. Except for a lot of the in video artwork. Like I did this DeGrau series the last 2 years, where Eddie and I were looking for this legendary treasure, and a lot of those videos are telling stories that there's no footage of, there's no previously made artwork for. So I hired somebody to do a bunch of that artwork, but everything else, the music and the other artwork that's on the channel, and all the videography is just a one-man show.
Just you. Is Bentley going to be planning on going with you in the thaw, or how is he doing with his Nocta Macro one? Good?
He's you know, he enjoys it in my backyard. He's not quite old enough, because when I go out and I make a video, I'm usually out all day hiking through the forest or whatever, and he's 6. He just turned 6, so he's not quite there yet. But we're going to the Bone event in New Hampshire in April, and he's going to be coming at least one of the days with me, and see how long he's there before he gets bored. But he's excited about it. He's looking forward to finding some treasure.
Very nice. Very nice. And his chickens.
People are asking about France.
Asking about France?
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Chill Bill. Now, Chill Bill is an insane individual, isn't he? Wonderful guy.
I wouldn't use the word insane. He is a character. He's highly entertaining, and one of the most intelligent humans I've ever had a conversation with, by far. A wealth of knowledge, and
he does know his stuff about finds, doesn't he?
He sure does. He knows something about everything. And no, he was great. He invited me. You know, he brought me out there, and he brought me to all of his places metal detecting. He hosted me. He fed me. He's an amazing dude, and the places that he had permission to were equally as amazing. And you know, it was funny. Every single day, we detected 4 days. Every day just got better. You know, the things got older, the things got more significant. And the 4th day, the video that I made will be published tomorrow on my YouTube channel. We're finding Roman stuff, which is like, you know, how do you get better than that, right?
Well, you know, it's odd, isn't it, Brad? You know, when we were over there, and I watched your video, and you're going, this stuff's from the 1600s. How great is this? I go, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're saying you throw it in your pouch, you know.
You know, it's funny because
you find stuff from the 1300s, 1100s. We were finding Bronze Age axes and stuff. It's unreal.
Yeah. Well, the thing that got me was he brought me to the first field, like, all right, go have fun. And I turned my Deus 2 on, and I went out, and it was like literally the first 30 seconds. I walked like 2 feet. And I got a coin, and it was from the 1600s, and it's just like,
that's a great one.
It was like, that was easy, you know. Like I've been working my last 6-7 years to try to find coins this old, and you can't do it here. And it's the first 30 seconds, and he's like, oh yeah, double turn wild, you know, like throw it in your trash bin, and we're gonna find better stuff than that. I'm like, what?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I would have just sat with it in my hand for quite a while.
I know. I did.
Well, it's just like what Brad was explaining, and Chill Bill's been hunted over here in the U.S., so
sure.
There's nothing new for him. But, you know, you're telling him, hey, when we find something from 1850s, we're excited,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Right.
It's all
But then
relative.
that's just nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all just what you're used to, you know. You
Yeah,
talk to guys way out on the West Coast, right, and you get excited about things from the 1800s, and then
Right.
here in the colonial America, like if we break into the 1600s, we're getting pretty excited. But then, over there, it's like if it's not 2,000
yeah,
years old, then it's hard
Right.
to get excited about it.
And here on the West Coast, actually in Oregon, we have the luck of the ocean that brings us stuff. So Ronnie does have coins from the 1600s
Oh, great.
that is from the museum. And recently I just found a Civil War suspender
Great.
buckle. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's just, but I love relics. I'm an iron digger. I
Me
love
too.
relics. So is that your favorite kind of hunting?
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I don't discriminate. I'm not a coin shooter. I'm looking for anything that'll tell me a story, and coins typically aren't able to do that. I'm excited about coins. Don't get me wrong, but
Right. Right.
finding something that belonged to the inhabitant of wherever I am, and it connects directly to whatever their occupation was or a story that they had. That's what gets me the most excited.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's
That's
the
how I
story
was
behind
with
the
this.
finds,
Right.
really,
Right.
because you hold that item and you think, wow, this is 150, 200 years old, and what was that person doing when they lost
Sure.
this?
Right.
And over in England, you're holding medieval stuff and stuff from BC in some cases.
Yeah, it's hard to
You
comprehend
know,
how old that stuff
and
is.
the Saxon gold, and you're going, oh yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing to think what we walk over and what structures are already on the ground that
Sure.
probably will never be retrieved. So, it's pretty amazing. So, do you do what kind of research do you do? I know that you love doing the research on the items, but how do you do your research on where you go and hunt?
Sure. I try to do as much research before I go to the place as possible so that, I do this hobby as much for the video as I do, for the enjoyment of finding the things, right? So, in order to tell a great story in a video, I try to do as much research as possible on the actual people as I can so that when I find something, I can say, okay, this belongs to so and so, and this is why. This is more interesting than if I didn't have that information. Like the example I always use is say, I go and I find a horseshoe. It's like, oh, we find horseshoes all the time, right? But maybe the person who lived here was a farrier. They had an interesting story. They personally made this with an anvil and a hammer, and that makes that item elevated in importance, and it makes a great story, right? So, getting that information ahead of time before we go to a place is always a high priority for me. Now, the way I do that. The bulk of where I go are usually homes from like the middle to the end of the 1800s. So there's a wealth of information on folks in this area from that time period. I do a lot of research using first old maps, right? What were these people's names? A lot of the town offices have that information as well. They have property plots all the way back to the 1700s. But once I get these people's names, then I can go to like newspapers.com is a site that I use a lot. It's a subscription service, but it's incredible database where you just type something into the search bar and it just searches like all of the newspapers in the United States back to the 1800s, 1700s in some cases. And you can just type in a person's name and you can tons of stuff about them. Maybe they were, maybe the property was for sale at some point and it lists all of the buildings on the property and where the property ended and began. And all of that information is incredibly useful. Oftentimes they'll be in the newspaper for other things, and it'll
Right.
tells the story of who these people were. And probably the most useful place aside from the internet is going to the local library and trying to find like locally published books talking about these people firsthand, their story, their family stories, how they interacted with other people in the town, and having all of that stuff beforehand makes the things that you find even more interesting, right? And it ups the likelihood that you're going to find anything if you know exactly where all of these buildings were. You know where to look.
Right. Wow. Wow. So I have not used the newspapers.com. So that's a good resource for me to try. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited about that.
We
I'm
got a
excited.
question from John Donaldson off YouTube. He wants to know, Brad, if you feel a lot of pressure to find great stuff when you go out to shoot a video, or do you kind of just let it is what it is type of thing?
Sure. Of course, there's there's unnecessary pressure because I created this deadline for myself of posting a new video every Friday, no matter what. And I don't need to do that, right? There's nobody telling. It's not like I don't have to, but I like to for people who watch and people who enjoy the videos. And it's nice to have a deadline sometimes for creative reasons. So when I go detecting, I got to have a video this Friday, right? So it's nice to be able to find amazing things every time you go, but that's not reality. Anybody who's in the hobby knows you can't guarantee you're going to find anything every time you go, which is why I try to do as much research ahead of time so that these horseshoes can have some meaning to them, right? Because you're not guaranteed to find amazing things. And in many of my videos, I don't find a coin or really anything of value, but hopefully the story gives these items somewhat historical value, of course. Um, Now that being said, sometimes I will go and I won't find anything. Maybe I don't have a ton of research and I just have to go again, and just try to make another video that day. And sometimes I'll have bad stretches of weeks where I really won't get a video made for several weeks. And luckily, I have a backlog of videos that will kind of carry me through, and I got to play catch up. But generally, you don't see my really bad days because I don't make videos of those days. I just go again to a new place and try to have a successful day.
Right. Right.
Well, that's all any of us can do. You
Yeah.
know, if it's not there and you can't get the coin over it, you can't find it.
Yeah, it's impossible to make a video every single week finding amazing things every time. It just,
Yeah,
it's
it doesn't
not
happen.
reality.
That's why if you maybe you don't show everything that you find, and you say, well, I'll tuck this one back here, this clip for another video. Stockpile them a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. If you've got
You
an
know?
amazing day and you find like 100 awesome things, you just
Right.
make several videos, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Now I was going to ask you, Brad, in your opinion, what's the perfect length of video?
In terms of what? In terms of high
Time,
viewers or?
not
No, I
viewers.
know what you mean. No, I know what you mean as far as time, but what and perfect in what sense? Something that I enjoy watching or?
Yeah, what do you strive to do on your videos? Do you like to keep them under 18 minutes, between 15 and 18, or I mean, some of them go on 45 minutes an hour,
Yeah.
and
I
you're
I film
snoring.
as I film as much as I can all day. And as I'm editing it down, I usually don't cut much, except like the digging and the stuff that makes it into the video generally is like 15 to 20 minutes, but I'm not cutting anything to make it into that time frame. That's not something that's even in
Okay.
my mind as I'm making a video. Um, if you did a poll on people who make metal detecting videos, I have no idea what length of video like does best with viewers or what get the most views. Is it the 2-minute ones or is it the 40-minute ones? I have no idea, but mine always end up being between 15 and 20 minutes. Just
I
from
think
filming
that's pretty
one
much
day.
the key. I really do. People's attention spans are somewhat limited in aspects like that. I think so. Between 15 and 20 minutes makes a really good video.
Sure.
We also have from Al S. He wants to know if you're going to host Chill Bill in Vermont.
I just had a very long Skype conversation with Chill Bill today, and we're talking about all kinds of stuff. I will probably be going to England in the fall to join him and Nicola in the Thames and do some mudlarking. And then we are talking about him coming here. And then we're talking about going all over the world. We're kind of leaving it open right now, and I'm not going to say too much to lock myself into something and have people be disappointed. But we have a lot of plans. He and I, we had a great time. We really we had fun together, and we want to have more fun together, going more places, finding more treasure, and making more videos. So we'll see what
Well, that
happens.
makes it a lot more fun when you're with somebody that makes it fun.
Sure.
You know, when when you're hunting with somebody that you can't speak to because, oh no, I've got the headphones on, head down. That's no fun.
Right.
Part of it is being out there with people you like, and just having a good time.
Sure.
So I have to ask you, because you have a lot of fantastic finds. So I'll break it into really two.
Okay.
What is your favorite United States find? And what was your favorite France find?
My favorite find all time in the United States would probably be the Anna Leonard pendant, but we already talked all about that, so I won't say that that's. So my second favorite find would probably be my little gold coin I found, I think.
Yes.
Now coins are coins. What, they made millions of them, right? And everybody has one, but I think that since little gold coins are so exceedingly rare to find, and it was just like the day where it was I think it was the second time my friend Mike, who was with me, ever went metal detecting. I brought him with me, and in the car on the way, we were talking about, well, the place we're going, there's probably a pretty good chance we'll find some like little Spanish silver half reals. I found them in this general area before. And he's like, wow, that's amazing. He's like, do you ever find gold coins? I'm like, no, you're never going to find a gold coin. Like, I'm never going to find a gold coin. I don't know anybody who's ever found a gold coin. Like, you can get that out of your head right now. And and then later on that day, and this is the kind of the editing thing, right? So I found my little gold coin, but when I found it, this area, it's very, very pine heavy, right? And for some reason in this area, the silver coins kind of get not tarnished, but they kind of get brown stained a little bit. So I found this little coin, and I was like, it's a half real. It's just a little bit brown, right? And I cut like 15 minutes out of the video of me humming and hawing, talking to Mike about half reals, talking about Spanish silver coins, and then at one point I rubbed the edge of it, and I'm like, this is not silver, right? This is gold. And then I start flipping out, and that's what's in the video that everybody saw. But it just the day of it, this being his second time ever metal detecting and having a gold coin come out of the ground, and just the the story and the experience is what I remember most, of course.
Right. My favorite
That's something that my partner Phil asks every guest on Treasure Talk. Have you found a gold coin? That is his nemesis. It's his white whale, if you will. And there's not been a lot of people that find gold coins.
Not that I know of, no. And mine was a teeny tiny little half escudo Spanish coin. It was 1783, and it was about the size of a trime, I'd say. Very, very small, smaller than a half real. And on the AT Pro, I think I was using, it was like a 40. It was very, very low. And the only reason I dug that up is because the area that we're in, we were finding a lot of like pewter buttons, which also read very low. And that's what I expected it to be. But yeah, they're just, because they're such low readers when they get that small, and they're just, if you're in a park or something, like you'd probably pass that by. But I don't know anybody else that has found something, a gold coin like that.
I don't either. You're my first. Okay, what was your favorite one in France? All of them.
I think probably the Roman coins. I found two on the fourth day, but it's hard to say because they're also out of the ordinary for me. They're all so old, and it's hard to comprehend. I mentioned this earlier, but when you start talking about like the 1700s, like we have a pretty good idea of how old that is. Like maybe we can even trace back to our ancestors to the 1700s. But when you start talking about like year 200, it's really hard to wrap your mind around like what life was like back then, what was going on in the world back then. And just to hold something in your hand like that, it's it really, you don't know what to say. You're like, wow, this is incredible. But it's like talking about like when the dinosaurs are around. Like we have no way to comprehend how long that was. And I kind of have that problem with like Roman stuff, and even stuff from like, the 1100s, 1300s. Like it's so long ago. Like it's hard to comprehend. But I think even more than the little silver coins I found from the 1400s. I think that the Roman stuff was probably the coolest because they look so cool, and they
Some of
cleaned
them
up
are
so
really
great.
cool.
Yeah,
Some of them are really cool. The hammered copper Roman coins, and then the silver ones. But I mean, think about finding a Celtic gold stater or a Saxon, some Saxon gold. I mean, that it blows your mind. You know, the
yeah,
side of your head starts wobbling. You know,
Right.
absolutely.
it's bizarre. And when we were there, one of the guys from Virginia did find, I think it was a Celtic gold stater, and he just kicked over a clod, and there it was. You know, it's freshly plowed field. So,
Yeah,
um, you know, it's you just never know. And stuff is not that deep. I mean, you
it's
think
true.
some of the, you know, if you could get down 4 or 5 feet, what all could you find? You know, there's got to be a lot of cool stuff down that deep, but a lot of
Absolutely.
the really the coins and stuff, it's not very deep.
Right.
Yeah.
And
You
they do
know,
frown on backhoe digging. So
well, that's
yeah,
when you're over there. You know, I think the perfect times. Of course, in the summertime, the farmers don't let you on their fields, but I always like to go in the fall. I feel the weather's a little bit better because I don't want to go out and slog in the mud necessarily. But just as you know, they do their fall plowing. Um, you know, that's really a good time to go, I think.
Sure.
yeah.
You know, something that kind of blew my mind, culture shock, I guess, is when I arrived in France in January, there were little seedlings already growing for the next. They have like a winter harvest, I guess, or a winter grow. So there were some fields that were planted in January that we couldn't go on, and it's just because it's 40 degrees in the wintertime there, so they can still grow stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
We have something from Gary Kerr. He wants you to mention your website.
Yeah.
Sure. It's gmmd.us, GMMD, like Green Mountain Metal Detecting.us. And what's on there? There's just a link to get to the YouTube channel to watch the videos. There's pictures of like everything I've ever found on there. There's a player where you can listen to the music that is in the videos that I make. What else is in there? I think that's about it. Oh, a store, I guess. There's like t-shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mike Mayo wants to know if your wife has any interest in detecting.
She has no interest in detecting. No, she loves that I love the hobby of metal detecting, and she is always interested in hearing me talk about it. But she has no interest in actually going out with the metal detector herself and digging holes. She
Yeah,
has
mine
her
is the
own
same way.
interests.
Mine is the same way. And thank the Lord, she never gives me any grief when I buy stuff. Because you know, Brad, we always gotta, you know, we gotta get some stuff. You gotta
Well,
have
Jeff,
some.
you have a YouTube channel, so all that stuff is tax write-offs. It's your
Right.
job. Like you
That's
can
it.
just,
That's it.
I'm going to work.
Hey, thanks, Brad. You know, I tried that.
I tried that.
Now I got the hook.
Ah,
You know,
ah. So
so
what are your plans for 2022? I mean, if COVID, you know, in the ideal world, what
In
are
the
your plans
ideal
for
world.
2022?
Well, 2 years ago, I had planned to do a bunch of traveling, and then that didn't work, right? Because nobody was doing any traveling in 2020. But this year, I'm planning on doing a lot of traveling. I went to France in January. We have a trip planned to England in late summer, fall. I'll be at Bone in New Hampshire. I think it's April. Do plan on being in North Carolina in a few weeks at Digstock that's down there. In a few weeks, was 3-4 weeks from now.
Mhm.
And just going on more trips and places that where there's things that are not in Vermont, because
Right.
I hate to say that I'm getting a little bit jaded, but you find another spoon or large cent from the 1880, it's hard to get excited about it, and I
Right.
like getting excited about new things I'm finding. So
Right.
kind of getting out of my comfort zone a little bit and finding things that really get me excited are what I'm hoping to do as much as I can this year. And Eddie and I wrapped up DeGrau in the fall time, and we have been working very, very hard on the next big series. And we're not going to talk about it at all until it's done, because last time we made like 3 or 4 episodes, and then COVID hit, and then there was like a 6-8 month hiatus, and then people didn't care anymore, and then we tried to wrap it up. So this time we're going to film everything and then just post them rapid fire. And so thus far I'm more excited about this one than I was about DeGrau, so hopefully everybody else will enjoy it just as much.
Well, that's
Very
the thing.
nice.
You always kind of look for, new and exciting things to pique your interest.
Sure.
That was one of the reasons why we went to England, and I think we'll definitely go back to England. But we're talking about because the Mumbles man and I, we're beach hunters. We like to hunt in the water. We're talking about Mexico and some other places like that.
Sure.
Let's go down there and see what happens. We've done a series on Treasure Talk about cruise detecting. And a lot of people don't realize that you can take your detector on the cruise ship, and most of the cruise lines have their own island, private islands
Sure.
in the ports that you can go and detect there. And they find some really good stuff too.
I bet. Yeah.
It's something different to keep you moving forward, I think, for want of a better word,
Absolutely.
So, being
Well,
that,
glad
the
you
Mumbles
could come.
man wants to know what your most unusual find is.
I knew it.
My most unusual find. Man, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that one. I think finding things out of place is not super common for me. So the places that I spend the most of my time are these kind of isolated homes that are up in the mountains that were abandoned in like before 1900, and usually the only people that visit them are hunters, after that. So you don't find a lot of modern, like really weird stuff at these places. But I will. Oh, here's an unusual one. So I was visiting this a reservoir with my father-in-law and family. He had his metal detector with him, but we were just there to cook hot dogs over a campfire and enjoy the day. And the water happened to be very, very low. They were pulling it out for some reason, and there was this old foundation that was exposed that used to be underwater. It's usually underwater, I'll say. And it was I did research on this area. I love the area that I'm from, so I know a lot about the people who lived here and where all these buildings were. And I was aware that it was there, but I had never seen it before because I'd never seen the water so low. So we had our metal detectors and we went down and we were metal detecting around this old foundation. And I got like an irony tone, pulled it out, and it was a revolver. And so the first thing that came to my mind is like, awesome, an old revolver. And the first thing that came to my father-in-law's mind is, this is usually underwater. Somebody dropped that out of a boat. This is evidence, right? And we had at this point, we didn't have cell service. I had this thing in my hand. I was like, I have no idea. You might be right. Like it's a revolver. Who knows? But come to find out, it was like an 1890s revolver. It was period with the building. Was it a murder weapon? Who knows? Probably not. Right. But it was along the foundation of this building, and it was from the time period of the building. So it was like somebody dropped it off a boat. There was no boats there at the time. There was just horses, right? So, but that was in the moment. That was like, oh, I don't know about this one, But it ended up being a historic item.
Wow. Wow. That would have been very interesting.
Yeah. My twin diggers from Minnesota, they want to know if you ever do any bottle digging.
I found a bottle dump metal detecting. And I made 1 or 2 videos of there just kind of digging through, picking out the bottles that were whole. And that was like the last time I ever had any success. I've been places by myself bottle digging and just not found anything interesting enough to make a video out of it or even to bring anything home. Those were like the only 2 times I've ever brought any bottles home. What I really need to do is link up with somebody who really knows not only what they're doing, but where to look for these things,
Right.
and
Mhm.
it teach me so that I can find them myself. But I know all of these places I go up in the mountains have a dump somewhere or a privy where there's bound to be bottles. And I've just never been able to stumble across them. They're buried, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what Mumbles Man and I were talking about. I have never been a bottle hunter, bottle
Yeah.
digger, but it's fascinating, and we're gonna, you know, have to do a little bit more research because I'm with you because I don't know exactly how you're going to find that, how you would identify where the bottle dump was.
Yeah.
Right.
You
And
know,
the guys that are involved in that hobby, they know like the bottles. They
yeah.
recognize it and say, "Oh, that's a
Right.
one of those, one of those, one of those." So I have no idea. If it's not broken, I'd take it home, but I just am not able to not able to find any.
Me too. I found two when we lived in Montana, and we just happened to stumble across an old foundation that was tumbling down, and we accidentally stumbled upon what was the dump, and I found two whole ones, one very large one, and one semi large one, and I've had people try and buy them from me, but I don't know anything about them, but I just love
Yeah.
them. So I'm like you. I really want to know more about it.
It's so funny once you get involved in like a hobby like treasure hunting, there's so many little facets that
Oh,
you can get involved in. And it's just like I don't have enough time. I've got the metal
right,
detecting, and I know there's magnet fishing, I know there's the bottle digging, and there's sifting even without a metal detector, and it's just like,
right.
I've got what
There's
I'm
all
interested in.
kinds. And
Yeah,
that's
It's
why,
amazing.
when we formed the Blue Spade Society for people with disabilities, that's why we try to expand our guests coming on to all aspects of treasure hunting because it
sure,
is vast. Like you said, there's coin roll hunting,
sure,
arrowhead hunting. Magnet fishing is another huge uh, treasure hunting. And I mean, just all kinds of bottle digging, dump digging, all that kind of stuff. And, we just always like to say, treasure is as treasure does, because it's what turns you on to be a treasure hunter, really,
sure.
Right, right.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I I I am love it. And so I am one of those people that I am constantly in the mud and in the dirt, and I'm always the one that's dirty. I'm always the one that, does all of the craziness. So, I can go out with friends or go out with Ronnie and they're all clean, and my nickname is Pigpen. I just can't help it. I just have to get down in there
Sure.
and
I hear you.
and do it, because I love it. I love it. Have you ever done beach hunting?
I'm about 4 hours from the closest beach,
Okay.
ocean beach, right?
Hmm.
And we go on vacation in the summer, usually maybe once or twice a year. And I usually bring my metal detector, but I've never found anything. That's its own thing too, right? You have to know when to go, you have to know where to go,
Right.
and I just have not put the time needed in order to be good at that.
Right.
Because I only
Well,
go a
if
couple
you're
times a year.
so we will invite you if you're ever on the West Coast.
Thank you.
We hunt Goonie Land. So we have right there by the big rock, and it's pretty fun. It's a whole nother madness out there.
I'm
Beach
sure.
hunting is, because you follow tides, and but
Yes.
Ronnie loves beach hunting. I love beach hunting because I've found relics from the 1800s on the beach. So
Wow.
I've been really lucky. So
Yeah.
yeah. So you have an
I
open
would love to.
invitation. You
Thank
can
you.
come here to Oregon, and we'll set you up, and you can just walk your miles and find all your treasure on the beach. And you have to
So,
yell, "Hey, you guys!"
I have
Brad,
to yell that. Okay.
I know that you hunt a lot in the woods.
Mhm.
Any tips you can give anybody, preparation? Because in the woods, there's ticks and there's other kind of critters and all kinds of stuff. What kind of precautions do you take?
It depends. Because a lot of times I'm in the woods, and in the videos it can seem like I'm, hours from the closest civilization, but oftentimes, I'm just 15, 20-minute walk into the woods behind the landowner's home, right? But on the rare occasion I am out quite a ways in the wilderness, in the mountains, in the forest. Um, Lots of water, first of all. I don't ever people. One of the most common questions I get is if I carry an actual GPS unit, and I don't. I just use my iPhone, and people don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand that the GPS on your iPhone Maps or Google Maps will work without cell service. That goes straight to the satellite. So as long as you have battery in your phone, you will have a working GPS in order to get out of the woods.
Oh,
Um,
good, good.
and I have an extra battery pack for my phone, for my metal detector if I need it, and all that stuff. I'm just trying to go through in my brain what's in my backpack, right? Just this last year or two, I started using a thermocell, which is a bug repellent unit, I guess you could say. It takes a butane cartridge and a little felt pad with something. It was soaked in something, and then it smokes.
That's what everybody thought you were smoking.
Yeah, everybody's like, "Oh, don't be ashamed of your cigar smoking." And no, I have a thermocell in my backpack. It's bug repellent, but I use that, and I use usually like 99% DEET spray also for the black flies. Ticks are very prevalent in my area. I'm not personally worried about Lyme disease. I know somebody who's had Lyme disease would probably scoff at me saying that, but my mother's had Lyme disease. Two of my uncles have had Lyme disease. Like a couple of my cousins have had Lyme disease, and they take the antibiotic and it goes away. And what my mentality with ticks is once I get home, I take all my clothes off, throw them in the washing machine. I jump in the shower and I look myself over, make sure I don't have any ticks on me. The reason all of my family members got Lyme disease is because they came in on the cats and they didn't know they had a tick on them and they didn't get to it fast enough. They wouldn't have looked themselves over for ticks because they weren't expecting to get a tick. But I'm expecting ticks on my body when I get home. So I check myself all over. And thus far, I've had a ton of ticks on me, but I've never gotten sick from it yet. So I know people use like permethrin and stuff on their clothes and on their ankles and stuff, but I usually don't take any precautions with ticks except when I get home. I make sure there's none on me anymore. But as for being in the woods, usually the bugs are the biggest problem. I have two ways of taking care of those, and a compass just in case my phone dies.
Yeah. Jim Perry wants to know if you are a member of any clubs and stuff in your local area.
No, there's no clubs in my local area, unfortunately. There's some over in New York that I'm aware of, but they're all just too far of a drive for me to be a member of. Unfortunately, I guess I could make one, but there really aren't a ton of people in my area that are interested in the hobby. There's my little circle of friends and a couple folks that have been in the hobby a lot longer than me in the area, but there's no clubs to speak of.
It just takes more time away from your detecting.
Sure.
Right. So do you detect full time? Is that your job? Like, do you?
No,
you don't. Oh, you work.
Well, kind of. If you asked me 2-3 years ago, I'm in my recording studio right now. So I would record bands and I was a private music teacher. And as a creator, as a artist, I have income from many different places. So those are the two bigger ones. And I also have a business where I hand make microphones. And that's what I do the most, I would say, is make my little microphones and sell online. So then the YouTube channel started really kind of taking off in 2019, and it became financially possible to stop teaching and stop recording so much. So it was just metal detecting and making microphones when I had the time. And now the videos have become considerably less popular. And so now the microphones are taking up probably the bulk, especially because it's wintertime, but they're taking up the bulk of my time. So like, for example, every day this week, I've sat down in my workshop and soldered together microphones because I don't have any videos to edit and I can't go out metal detecting. So that's currently my job.
So are your microphones, do you sell them or do you I'm sure you sell them. Do you sell them on your website or?
No, they're not on the Green Mountain website.
Like, how do people find them? If they're interested, I would have never known that.
Sure. Well, here, I'll tell you the whole story so that you don't think I'm crazy. So I was in college, and the only thing I wanted in the whole world was to record bands for a living. That was what I went to school for, and that's what I wanted to do more than anything. So I actually ended up getting an internship at a recording studio. Dream realized, right? And I worked there for several years, still in college, just out of college. Wife and I bought a home, and then the studio closed for ownership reasons. And so I wanted to continue recording bands, but I was didn't have any money. And if you want to record a drum set, you need like 12, 14 microphones. Microphones are expensive. So luckily, I have some electronics background. I had some very smart friends, and they're like, you should just build your own microphones. I said, okay. So I ended up figuring out how to build my own microphones and putting them to work in my own little studio that I built in my house. Fast forward a few years, I'm with Eddie and we're shooting shotguns in his backyard. And I had one of these little microphones in my pocket, and we pick up all of our shells at the end of the day. We go inside, we take the shells out of our pockets, and my little tiny little microphone had slipped in to one of the shotgun shells. And I was like, that's kind of cool. It's kind of like a little outfit for my microphones. It's kind of like a little costume. And I went home and I drilled a hole in the end of the shotgun shell, and I figured it all out, and I posted a picture of it on a forum. Just, how there's metal detecting forums, there's also recording forums. And I went to bed, and in the morning my inbox was just full of people being like, I want to buy your shotgun shell microphone. And then that was 11 years ago, and now they've been used on Grammy Award winning records by producers that I'm sure you've recognized the name of. And I have 7 models now, all different colored shotgun shells. And that for a long time was like, I couldn't make them fast enough, but like all things, that ebbs and flows. But right now it's doing pretty good. So anyway, they're microphones, but they look like shotgun shells.
Wow, that's
We've got
fascinating.
from Twin Diggers, Minnesota, and also from Tim Later, the Mumbles Man. Twin Diggers wants to know about your leather work.
Sure.
And Tim wants to know if you make headphones.
I don't make headphones. Different technologies go in the opposite direction, right? Sound goes in a microphone, sound comes out of headphones. But but no, I don't make headphones. But my leather work is just kind of its own little thing. Like my problem is I turn my hobbies into jobs, and then I have too many jobs, right? So I have to start cutting them out. So the leather work was something that just came up in the wintertime when I couldn't metal detect. I just started out with leather sheaths. Knife sheaths, and I was very bad at them, but I just kept at it. It was just its own hobby. You sit there and you fiddle around and you make things, and I got a little bit better. You start accumulating new tools. Things get better. You get better tools. The things you make get better. And then I kind of graduated onto making things for metal detecting. So a lot of the things on my website are leather holsters for pinpointers or leather holsters for hand diggers. And I carry a little pad of paper with me when I go out metal detecting and I'm making these videos. I like to keep track of the things that I'm finding. How many things have I found today? How many, shots of B-roll have I taken? That sort of thing. And I made myself a leather cover for that book. And a lot of people spotted it and were like, hey, I'd like one of those. So I offered those on my website as well. These little leather journal covers, I guess you could call them. And little leather spray bottle covers, and just everything I can think of to somehow incorporate leathercraft into metal detecting. And then just this last winter, I got so many orders for those leather journals and the holsters and stuff. I was like, I didn't have any time, so I ended up buying a very expensive leather sewing machine, and my seamstress career took off, where I started making backpacks, leather backpacks, rucksacks. And I unfortunately I haven't had any time to make any this winter, but I'm going to have some time off coming up these next couple months. I think that I'll make some more, but it's just another hobby, something that I enjoy doing, and I just happen to have an outlet through the metal detecting to kind of sell this stuff. So that's what I did.
Right.
Very good.
The introduction is so true. You are just a jack of all trades. You do so much, and I'm really shocked about the microphones. I did not know that. I didn't.
Well, it's funny
so,
because like the majority of people that
Right.
know who I am know me as the metal detecting guy.
Right.
But like my people that I know in person, the people that I've actually shaken their hands, they all know me as the music guy, know me as the microphone guy. And it's funny how I tell people like in person, like, oh yeah, this metal detecting thing. You're like, oh yeah, what's that all about? I'm like, I don't know, I just make videos, metal detecting. And the
and
microphone
then you say,
thing,
yeah, I
like,
just
no,
make microphones.
yeah, it's two different sides of my life that I don't really mix because it doesn't really make any sense together. Like people who metal detect don't care about microphones, and people who work in recording studios don't care about metal detecting. So I just
Right.
they never come up.
Yeah, I metal detect and then have a whole art shed, so they don't go together.
Right.
So I get it.
Well, at least this way, Brad, nobody has seen you talking to a shotgun shell. So there's that.
You want me to plug one in? I can plug one in for you.
Let's see it. Hold one up. I want to see it because
right,
I'm going to go search it. I am. See, I put him on the spot. I would go find it.
Oh, I'm sure he's got one right there to hand.
All right, I got to mute this microphone real quick.
Okay. Oh, we're going to get the whole thing. We're going to hear it even.
Yeah, as long as it don't go bang, we're good.
Oh, wow.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Ta-da! Shotgun shell.
That sounds like that's about a 20 gauge, isn't it? A 20 gauge mic.
Cool. That is so cool.
That's outstanding.
You could have been on Shark Tank. I mean, that is amazing.
So anyway, yeah. So this is my silver model. I have a red and a blue and a green and a black, and they're all slightly different. But this is not intended for vocals, so it's probably popping and stuff. But
it sounds fantastic. It really does.
Oh, thank you.
Cool. Very cool.
So anyway, that's my when I people ask me what I do for a living, I usually say I make microphones. I'm going to switch over to this other one now.
And we'll confuse people and we'll say, Brad Martin, the microphone guy.
For sure.
All right, I'm back.
There we go. I said we'll confuse people and we'll say Brad Martin, the microphone guy, and they'll be like, who?
It's funny because I've actually sold microphones to people, and then they're like, "Wait, are you the metal detecting guy?"
The metal detecting guy.
Like what? Those two lives never. Right. They don't cross very often, but sometimes they do, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's weird." In fact, like Keebler, from the Self Diggers guy, he knows me from the microphones because he's an audio guy. Him and Charlie are both like live audio guys, and they're like, "Oh really? That's you?"
Right. Well, it's just, I mean, people's minds probably smoke. You can probably see it coming up that they're just so confused.
Well, I think they find it very interesting.
Right.
And that's one of the good things. If people want to know more about you as a person,
sure.
And the kind of things you do other than metal detecting, and that's what makes it more interesting for them, I think.
I can honestly say
that on a more personal level.
I can honestly say that Brad is one of the most down-to-earth people. Like when I first reached out to him before the Treasure Tales, he answered and he was just like, blah blah, super human, super down-to-earth, just and it was like, wow, this guy's really amazing. And he just continued to be that. He's never changed. He's always answered a question if I had one, and he's got a good sense of humor, and he's really good to watch. So if people don't know who he is, please go find Green Mountain Metal Detecting. It's well worth watching every episode because he's an incredible storyteller. Really.
I appreciate that.
Really good videos. They're concise. They're educational, and the scenery was good, and you explain what you're doing, which a lot of people, they really, really like that. This is why I'm doing this, and that kind
Sure.
of thing. So
I try to make every video directed towards a person who has never seen a metal detecting video before, because a lot of times, it's a great community in the hobby, and there just aren't a whole lot of us, right? If I'm trying to appeal to the greater community on YouTube as well, and like they're not going to understand the references like Stinkin' Lincoln or a
Right.
clad or
yeah,
like that's like metal detector talk. Like people who are watching, I feel like they can feel a little alienated when they hear that stuff. Like I don't know what this person's talking about. Like, are these even words? So I try to introduce myself, to explain what I'm doing in very layman's terms, and like I know that a lot of people in the hobby would like to know like my metal detector settings and all of those little details, but like most people don't care about that stuff. People that aren't in the hobby, people who want to find somebody or see somebody finding something interesting, right?
mhm.
So I try to make my videos very family friendly, very simple to understand, and without a lot of like buzzwords that most people wouldn't understand. And hopefully people in the hobby don't get bored by that. But
No,
that's
I
like
don't think they do. I
sure,
don't think they do. And I kind of like to akin to it of being a musician. It's called reading the house.
sure,
Because if you're up there and you're talking to another musician, they say, "Hey man, what kind of axe you got?"
right,
And you know what I'm talking about, but 90% of the people would have no clue. They think you're
right,
talking about Paul Bunyan, you know.
yeah,
That's
shop
not
talk,
what it is. So,
right.
you know, um, there is a difference, and I think you explained it very, very well.
Thank you.
Right.
That's what I try to do at least. And there's certainly moments where I talk about metal detector settings and use words that people only in the hobby would understand. But mostly, I try to appeal to the 10-year-olds who may not have any idea what I'm talking about, and trying to make it make sense to them.
Well,
Right.
that's when did you have to really appeal to because they're the next generation in this hobby.
Sure.
And we need to get more and more of them um, coming on, and bringing them on and getting them educated in the right ways, the proper
And,
ways. Like when you go out, you don't trespass. You always have permissions and you make note of that.
right.
So, they're learning the proper etiquette and how to conduct themselves.
Sure. And all the power to kids who are interested in metal detecting, because
Right.
when I didn't have any interest in history until after college, like I just try to get through those classes,
Right.
but
Right.
like I didn't care. But to see a kid, that young interested in history is something special, because it takes a certain kind of person to care about that kind of thing.
It
Yeah, they
does.
really got to be interested because kids, my grandson, he's 19 now. So, but when he was younger, I used to take him, and it was good for a little while because they get
Sure.
bored really easy. It's like taking them fishing.
Right.
It's not called taking them catching; it's called taking them fishing.
Right.
And with metal detecting, it's not called taking them finding; it's
No.
called metal detecting. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Well, and there's some incredible youngsters out there that are bringing this hobby to the forefront in a new generation. And so I think that it's not going to be discontinued. I think, if anything, the next generation is going to be much more further advanced than we are. I mean,
Sure.
with the things that they're finding, they're just so smart and dedicated. So I'm excited to see the next youngsters. I try and support them 1,000% because, who wants to go out and dig pop cans all day?
Well, alluding to that, there's something, like you can't talk about your future plans. Well, at Treasure Tales, we've got some plans along those lines with the young people that I'm not going to get into right now. We're still in the formulation and putting it all together. Uh, but we'll be announcing it, fairly soon about what we're going to do with that. So, we may call on you, Brad, to give us a hand.
Sure. Let me know. Happy to help.
Good. Good.
Very good.
Good.
Well, I think probably, Tiffany, you got any more questions? We've kept Brad for well over an hour.
You know what? He's just so great. He's saved, and I hope everybody got their questions asked. And if they didn't, shoot them over to Treasure Talk, and Brad might join, or he has a Facebook and Instagram, and he's very reachable. So
Yes, I answer all comments, all emails, all messages. I'm just, if you make YouTube videos, my upload button is exactly the same as yours. I do the exact same thing you folks do. It's just, I have time. I take the time to respond to everybody's emails that reach out to me and ask me questions and stuff. No problem.
Right.
Well,
So
Brad, we certainly enjoyed having you tonight. It was really, it was a treat for us. And I know
it as well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Well, you are very welcome. And we will do this again soon.
Sounds great.
Brad, thanks again. Tiffany, you want to say good night to Brad?
Yeah, Brad, thank you so much. Tell Bentley hi. And
I'll do that and tell Ronnie hi. I'm sorry that he's not feeling well.
I will. He's going to be so bummed. But, so thank you so much. I mean, just honestly, thank you for being a stellar detectorist in this community and striving to be the best you can be. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the kind words. I had a great time.
Good.
Brad, thanks, man. And we will talk at you soon.
Yes. All righty.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
Bye. He's fantastic.
That was very, very good, wasn't it, Tiffany?
Oh, he's fantastic. He's absolutely fantastic.
He was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And a nicer guy you couldn't want to meet.
Right.
So, next week, I can't remember now. I got to look at my calendar.
Next week we have, I might be wrong. I don't have it in front of me. I think I know what it is.
I do.
I think I know what it is.
We are having a Discovery Daisy.
Yeah.
And we dig it.
Right.
So we'll get to see your pretty face again.
I know. I got 3 weeks in a row. I don't know how.
Well, you never know. You never can tell.
That's okay.
It's been a great evening this evening. I hope everybody doesn't mind. We ran over a little bit. I think it was interesting right from the get-go, right out of the gate. And like I say, if you want to watch some good videos, go subscribe to Green Mountain Metal Detecting. Also, subscribe to Pacific Northwest Dirt Fishing. And also, if you want to get in on some of the great giveaways and stuff we give, subscribe to Treasure Talk on YouTube. And like and share all the videos. So that's going to be it for us tonight. And like we always say here at Treasure Tales, treasure stories, there's a million of them out there. Every one of them is important. Every one of them has meaning. So we want to hear your treasure stories. So get up with us and come on Treasure Tales and tell everybody your treasure stories. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night, Tiff.
Bye.
Tell Ronnie we said hey.
I will. Have a good one, everybody.